series that I created last year, and it was basically a way for us to kind of talk about the human condition, of what it was like before COVID and how we were living through it now. So it was called Our New Normal, because whether people want to believe it or not, it can't go back the way it was. So I decided, new year, 2022, let's try something different. So I started something called Talks with the Foxx. I'm going to be interviewing and having chats or talks with people about their life. And these are people that I find inspiring. Could be artists, musicians, anyone. My hope is to inspire as we discuss life and the things that keep us together and motivated. And they'll get to share a little bit about themselves and their industry and their talent. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the first episode of Talks with the Foxx.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are and wherever this finds you. I would like to introduce each and every one of you to a new segment that I'm doing that's going to be across my social media as well as my podcast. And it is called Talks with the Foxx. And what is it all about? Yay! It's all about, for those of you who know, I'm really big on exploring the human condition. And it means so much to me to be able to see what that looks like for different people in different places around the world, whatever your discipline is, whether you don't have a discipline, if you're funny, you're not. I think the one thing that I do want to do is uplift voices that I believe, in my opinion, have something to say and they can add something to the world. We live in a time that's very tumultuous and there's a lot of garbage on TV and in media. And so anytime that I introduce you to someone, it will be someone who is definitely not garbage and contributes to society, to me. I think they do. And my first guest is a wonderful person, a wonderful human. He's just delightful. I'm not just saying that, but like we've had a chance to speak because I always do that before I do my interviews and stuff. But that's why I call him Talks with the Foxx, because this is more about the human condition with two people sharing their information about themselves and the things that they're interested in and trying to help other people connect. And so I would like to introduce you, and I'm gonna give his real name, Levert Blount. And if you would, go ahead and just tell the world about you.
Hey, good morning.
I love it. I love it.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Bassman, or the voice of Southwest Louisiana, where, I was born here. Ain't nothing much about it. I don't really know what to say at this point.
Just home. Okay. Well, you know what? Because we'll have fun.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I forgot. Yeah, I'm all over the place. The dog's just doing something. But yeah, I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana. I come from a big family. I am one of 20. My mother is one of 28. It's a his, hers, ours, and others type situation with us. So growing up, I learned to be neutral and see both sides of arguments because we had cliques in the family. So, we had factions and things. And so I grew up Sweden. And that allowed me to not only see both sides of the argument, but be able to be impartial in ways that I didn't think I would be before. So that's a quick rundown of me. Oh, before I went to school, I went to Southwestern Christian College. I went to Oklahoma Christian University. I was a cook for over 20 years, and I was on the radio for 18 non-consecutive months. When I started, we were at double digits in the ratings. Before the hurricanes happened, we were number 1 and 2, respectively, in urban AC. On August 27th, 2020, Hurricane Laura destroyed Southwest Louisiana. My home, my job, my career, everything in the city was decimated. And for 9 months, we stayed in either with family or in a hotel. After that, we moved to this wonderful FEMA RV that keeps us out of the element. And we've been here ever since. So that's a little bit about me.
Oh, well, and you know what? And this is the part that we're going to really enjoy. We're going to dig into getting to know a little bit more about you. So I'm going to get started. Okay. My first question I wanted to know is what helps motivate you when you open your eyes before your feet even hit the floor? What gets you going in the morning?
Gratitude. Gratitude keeps me going. A lot of the comforts that I'm used to have been removed from me since moving to this RV. And I've learned a few things. You can't be depressed when you're grateful. You can't be angry when you're thankful, and you can't hold grudges when you operate in love. And having been removed from everything around me, being isolated in this RV, it's taught me those things. So every morning I get up, I am eternally grateful because there are 110 people that I know personally who are no longer here. So I'm
Mm.
thankful for every breath, every day, every second, every moment. I am grateful for opportunities, for new beginnings, for mornings, for good mornings.
Good morning.
I count my blessings because you can't be depressed when you count your blessings. So before my feet hit the ground, I make sure to let the Lord know I'm thankful. I appreciate him. You know, me, God, and the universe. We have a conversation before my feet hit the ground and let the dogs out.
So it gives you fuel throughout the day, minus food. Obviously, we need to eat, but and sleep, take
Yeah,
naps and things. But what helps you keep going?
it's the desire for what's next.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know what's coming next, and I'm interested about it. I'm curious. I want to know what the next chapter looks like because I know what this chapter looks like so far, but I'm always interested in what's coming next. For me, I'm not really satisfied by hitting a plateau or the next level. I always want to know what's coming after that because
Mhm.
where I am now is fine. I need to learn everything there is to learn while I'm here because when the next level comes, when the next chapter gets there, something's going to build on top of that, and I need to be prepared for it.
So, like anybody, when you're going through that day and you're looking for that next moment, the next stage, when you get a little off, because everybody gets off kilter, what you get directed some way, it could be an accident, it could be you just had a crappy day. What helps you get back on track? What helps
I
you?
take
What's that?
I take a nap.
Look. I just can't take it.
I, I'm serious. I'll take a nap. If it's really that bad of a day, I'll go to sleep and start over again.
Really?
Whether it's 5 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, doesn't matter. I'm going to allow myself time to be pissed off, to feel every emotion, to
Mhm.
understand it, to relish in it, and then I'm going to sleep. I give myself 20 minutes to be angry. Then go to
Oh,
sleep.
okay. So you found a method of being able to disperse your discomfort. So you
Yes,
know that when you get in a place and you're like, this is not good for me, let me get all the anger out. So you don't bottle it up, you let it out. And
yeah,
then you're like, no, let me recharge.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because it's not appropriate for me at least to deny myself these emotions. My default setting is joy. I'm always going to be joyous. That's my default. So when something makes me happy or sad or angry or irritated, I want to make sure I feel those emotions to understand them, to understand how I fit within them, and understand that I control these emotions. They don't control me. Everything about me is a choice. I choose to be happy. I choose to be angry. I'm choosing to respond to this situation in this way because it's familiar. That's why they
Mhm.
call it that's why they call it a reaction because you're responding to stimuli in the same way.
Mm.
So I guess when I get to situations that I can't control, I control the only thing I can control, and that's my actions too. And
Gotcha.
when things are really bad, I'll take a nap and start over. That's it. You make me a sandwich and I'm going to bed.
Okay. So it's time. It's time to cut the lights off. The day's
Yeah.
gone, whether you took a nap or not. When it's time to go to bed, what helps you sleep at night?
The sound of my dog's snoring, oddly enough.
Really? That seems like
Yeah.
that would be annoying.
At first it was, but it's so cute. It's not. They don't snore like grown people. It's just like heavy breathing, and I find it relaxing.
So you have two dogs. What are their names?
Maya and Pork Chop.
Okay. All right. Do you have a favorite? Don't lie. You got to have a favorite. No?
They're favorites for different reasons.
Okay. Why so?
Let's say Pork Chop. That's my roommate. He's he's the ultimate roommate. He's always here. He's cool. He's fine. Maya's tiny. She likes to cuddle, so she'll climb up on the couch and sit on my lap and whatnot. But he's too big to do that. So he enjoys his own little area while she enjoys being up under me. And so they are favorites for different reasons. He is stress free and laid back, cool. She's high energy and slightly neurotic, but she's loyal, you know?
Okay. I got it. The loyalty is important to you.
Not necessarily, because they're
Really?
dogs. Dogs are designed to obey. That's what they're going to do. People are not. So I don't expect anything less than loyal from any dog, whether it's mine or not.
Okay, so people can suck and they can be nice.
Yes, yes.
What?
And the more I meet people, I realize I love my dogs even more.
Yeah, people look, people can be problematic. There's no question about that.
Yes,
They can.
yes, yes,
So
indeed.
I'm changing gears a little bit.
Okay.
If what is a pet peeve of yours with it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be crappy people, it could be anything. Like one of my biggest pet peeves, well, two, I'll give them to you. I cannot stand to waste my time. I don't like redoing things, and I don't like
Yes,
dirty nails. I don't want to see dirty nails. Get them out
yes.
of my face. What is a pet peeve of yours?
Don't come up in here blowing your horn when you come to my house. You don't have to work up. Don't disturb the entire neighborhood because you're trying to get my attention. If you're coming here, you have my phone number. Call me. Let me know you're outside, or get out and knock on the door. Don't blow your horn. That's disrespectful. Somebody could be in the house sick. Somebody could be on the phone dealing with something. Somebody could have just gotten a phone call, let them know their mama died, and you're out here blowing your horn, disturbing everybody. Don't do that. Knock on the door or give me a call. Don't like that.
Okay, fair enough. I don't like that either. When I was growing up, my mom was very particular because we always lived in apartments or townhouses. So my
Hmm.
mom was really particular about that. This was pre cell phones or affordable cell phones that weren't the size of your head.
Yeah,
She was definitely like, do not beep horns. If you come to my house, you either come to the door or you
yeah,
call. She was the same way.
yeah. I don't
So
like that.
I think it's Southern hospitality. I think
Where's
some
she
of
from?
that is. My mom is from South Carolina.
All right, yeah,
Yeah, she's
that
from
makes
a
sense.
small, tiny little town in South Carolina. Maybe not as I would say, and I've never been to Louisiana, but there's a lot of culture there. There's a lot
Yeah.
of and the culture isn't just the people, it's the landscape. Like
Yes,
a lot of, I mean, from the trees to the waterways, and then of course you interject the people and everything else that goes with them. So Louisiana is home, but it's also where you are. What do you love the
yes.
most about where you are? Your home, your state. What do you love about Louisiana?
The food and the music, the food, the music, and the art. I tell everyone, if you really want to understand the culture, there are three things you need to understand: their food, their music, and their art. If you understand those three things, then you understand that culture completely. And here in Louisiana, it's unique for several reasons. One, you had the introduction, well, you had the Native Americans who were here first, the indigenous population. They had their civilization long before Europeans came to this land. You had the Mississippian culture, and you had the culture that created Poverty Point here in Louisiana, one of the oldest earthworks in North America.
Mhm.
And then after after that, after enslavement, you had the continuation of these European immigrants as well as these African immigrants and the indigenous societies of South America. So cross with, with the introduction of the slave trade, the spice trade, and the Mississippi River, Louisiana really got the best end of the deal when it comes to anything else in the Americas. And because of that, we have a rich culture, a rich food heritage, and a rich art scene. We started jazz. A
Right.
miscellaneous fact of the day: jazz is not named after the music styling itself, but it's named after the jasmine scented perfume that the prostitutes would wear in the brothels. That's where jazz gets
Oh.
its name. It was JASS at first, but the J would fall off some of the band equipment. It was just ass there. And so they changed it to JAZZ.
See,
Yes.
this is why we're talking right now, because the
Yeah.
amount of knowledge that you have, and let's talk about that for just a minute.
Okay.
So there are people who are well versed. There are people who have 5 PhDs. You know, there's people who are well versed based on travel and interactions with people. You're a very intelligent man, and you know a lot of information, poignant information, important information. Where did your sense of wonder and learning come from? Was it just one of those things you were that kid, or did something happen in your life that said, hey, I've got to glean as much information as I can from whoever and wherever I can so I can know these things?
I was just that kid. I was that awkward kid who was always curious about everything. And I learned at a very young age that adults don't always have all the answers, and they sometimes get angry at you for asking questions that they don't know the answers to, so they take it out on you. So I learned how to ask questions, and then when I saw that they were getting frustrated because they didn't know, I learned how to find out those answers for myself. The earliest memory I have of pissing off an adult, I was in pre-K. It was called Wonderland of Play. And they were getting ready to do a Christmas pageant. And they pulled out a baby doll, say, this baby Jesus, and we're going to celebrate his birthday because he was born on December. I was like, when? And they was like, well, he was born December 25th. And I was like, well, how do you know? And they're like, well, because it says so in the Bible. Well, can you show me? And they're like, you can't read. I said, I know what Christmas looks like. Can you show me in the Bible? I was like 4 or 5 years old at the time. And long story short, it got to the point to where they called my mom to come and get me because I put on such a ruckus that they couldn't do the Christmas play. And it was middle of December and I didn't get the chance to go back to school until January. So I was always that rebellious, intuitive, and curious kid, if you will.
So as you got older, do you feel like you were on autopilot for learning, or was there something else that encouraged you to keep that? Because you know how, I don't know if you've run into kids like this. You always had that kid that was good at something. And then when they got older and they got to high school, they stopped playing basketball or they didn't do art or anymore. What kept because obviously your curiosity and your knowledge has grown from when you were 5. What kept you on that path wanting to learn? Was it a thirst for it, or was it just like by that time you're used to learning, I've got to keep learning because that's what I do?
I was just consumed with learning. They weren't teaching it in a way that I could understand in schools. So while brilliant, I struggled in school a lot because I just didn't understand how they were presenting the information. My grades were great at first, but then I realized that my peers were making fun of me because I was smart and things. So you talk like a white boy, you got a big old head, you're so smart. So you dumb things down just a little bit for acceptance, or at least that's what I did. So instead of making A's and B's, I started making C's and D's and things just to fit in. But the thirst for knowledge was always there. And the older I got, the more I was able, and the more technology advanced, I was able to really and thoroughly look into all these things I had questions about.
So if you had the opportunity, time travel was possible, and you could go back and meet 15-year-old Levert, what would you tell him? Be as frank as you like. Be as whatever you want to say. 15-year-old Levert, what would you tell him?
Honestly, I couldn't tell him anything.
Really? Why so?
I could, because at 15, I wasn't a know-it-all, but I was stubborn and I wouldn't listen. It was all the things that happened to me after 15 that got me to this point, where I'm open to new information. But at that time, I wasn't receptive to a lot of incoming knowledge. I was angry. I was a teenager in a house full of kids. I was stressed out. I was upset. I was depressed, probably in some cases. So there's nothing I could say to me at that age that I would listen to. The only thing I would probably tell me is don't give up.
Okay.
Don't give up.
25-year-old Levert.
25-year-old Vert. Lose some weight, nigga. You gotta take that down.
But wait though, because I heard you mention that. What was we don't have to talk about numbers or whatever. I've heard you mention weight. Were you at a point in your life where was it one of those situations? Because I remember my mother ended up she was a heavy lady, and she ended up having to have emergency bypass surgery. And the doctor told her when she got out, he was like, either you want to live or you're not going to be here. What are you going to do? Are you going to lose weight? And so my mom is now smaller than me. It blows my mind. But like, was it something that happened to you when you got your biggest that was like, I've got to lose this. I cannot do this anymore. What was it that made you realize I've got to get the weight off?
Well, I've always struggled with my weight. I was always a bigger kid. Even as a kid, I was just thick. But in my family, we don't necessarily check on each other's emotional state. We don't say, are you feeling well emotionally? Or how are you going through whatever you're dealing with, your crisis? We don't do that. We're like, you hungry? You ate yet? We'll go in the refrigerator to get you something. Here, eat this. This is how we show love in our family. We feed you. So I'm an emotional eater. That's just what I do. And at times, wait, what was the question again? I got lost.
No. It was what what made you, because you mentioned weight, what made you,
weight?
yeah.
Okay, cool. So I was an emotional eater and always been heavy, and we show love through food in our family. Well, at my biggest, I was about 325 pounds. Yeah, this
Wow.
was 2009. Yeah, 2009.
Wow.
2009. I was 325. I was massive. I was a big boy. And me and God had a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Hey, bro, how you doing?" He was like, "I'm good." I was like, "Look, I need a favor. Can you help me to lose weight?" And he was like, "Really? That's what you want?" And I was like, "Yeah, because I've been fat. I struggle with it, but I just don't know how to lose the weight. I tried. Can you help me?" And he was like, "Are you sure you want my help?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it." He was like, "All right, I'm going to make your life extremely uncomfortable because I know what it takes for you to lose weight. If I leave you any wiggle room for comfort, you're going to take it and you're not going to lose weight. So are you sure you're ready to take this journey?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem. Let's go." He's like, "All right, cool." The very next day, I got fired from my job at Oklahoma Christian University. I was like, "Crap, I don't know what I'm going to do." So I found another job over at Southern Nazarene. And Southern Nazarene University was a sports college. And there were only two fat people there. It was me and some other guy. And everybody was like, "Hey, is that your brother?" And I'm like, "No, we're just fat. We're not related." But while I was there, I ran into this guy named Chris Smith. He was studying kinesthesiology, and he had a thesis paper to write on how to lose weight. And I was like, when I was in the cafeteria at the time, and I was like, "Hey, that's perfect. You need to write a thesis paper on how to lose weight, and I need to lose weight. Let's make it happen. If I lose weight, then your ideas work, and if it doesn't, you need to work on it." And during the process of that, I lost 110 pounds. I had dropped down to my lowest.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had to feel completely different.
Yeah, I had to relearn everything because everything I had known was from a larger perspective. So instead of going out and buy 2, 3X shirts, I could buy a large for the first time. There's something that thin people do that I didn't realize thin people do until I became one.
What's
Y'all
that?
walk around with your hands behind your back for some reason. Like you stand there and grab your elbow from behind.
No, wait. To be fair, and I know
Yeah,
some people scalable, obviously. I used to be 205 pounds, right?
yeah.
So like now I'm like 155, 156. I don't mind telling people my age, my weight.
Okay.
And it wasn't until, and I used to be thinner, like I was under doctor's care because I had some stuff going on, and I got down to like 139, 140, right? And I knew, well, it was a little thin. It was a little thin. And the reason I know is when I went back to my specialist, I had gone because every time I went, I had to weigh myself. And she was like, "We're going to stop right here." Because I was 142 that day. She's like, "We're just going to stop because your body will stop on its own." But what she
Yeah.
was saying is we are intentionally putting you in a place where you're going to start losing the weight. Let's just we're going to stop. And I'll never forget, I was living with a young woman who was from Guatemala. I had gone back to school in my late 20s, early 30s, and I was living with a roommate. She was from Guatemala, and she was a dietitian, and she was going to school for dietary something. I can't remember. And her name was Angie. Hi, Angie, if you see this. And she was just, hey, Angie. And she was just the best. I think she lives in Guatemala now. But anyway, she was very small, very petite. And at this time, I was chopped up. I was like, you could just see muscles. And I was like, I was like, is this abs? I was like, hold up. So we're sitting down on the floor. We had wood floors, and we were laughing. And for the very first time in my life, I laughed until it ached. Like the laughter, like I could feel my ribs. And I was like, oh. And she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Wait a minute. Is this how it feels to laugh small?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's uncomfortable." And I was just like, I didn't know. I had no idea. Second thing happened. I'm working out, and I was working out regularly. And I went to go shave one day, and I'm, taking care of certain body parts, and I'm shaving.
Oh,
and, right. I'm in, I'm trimming around the hedges, and right. And so nothing too low. And so I'm trying to get the razor in there, and I couldn't get and I kept thinking, what's wrong? So I called my sister. I'm like, "Hey, I think I've got a growth or something." And she was like, "What are you talking about?" No, that's not what it was. It was that I had built my abs so much that there was like an indentation. And so as I'm trying to shave, I couldn't get in the groove to shave near your hip. And for the first time in my life, I realized that I had so much chunk around that area that I didn't know that you could shave that way.
Oh, I know the feeling.
So now I don't walk around. That was a whole diatribe, but I don't walk around with my my arms behind my back, if that's any consolation.
Oh yeah, when you lose weight, you gain a few things, especially for dudes. You get a few inches taller. Amen. Amen.
Oh,
Amen.
let the church say it.
Amen.
Oh, I didn't think of
Amen.
that. I
Yeah, you
wouldn't.
get a few inches taller.
Well, the other thing with the difference for women would be, though, we get a little saggier.
We still love it. It's okay.
It doesn't matter. It fits.
We'll hold it for you. We got you.
Well, there you go. See, different. Look, a woman's perspective, a man's perspective from people who've lost
Exactly.
weight. Because I would have, I didn't think of that, but I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Good. So now I'm going to take a little break, change directions a little bit. I found this game, and it gives you a choice. It's called Which One? I know you guys can't see it, but the name of the game is called Which One? So I'm going to read two things to you.
Okay.
Tell me which one you would pick, and then tell me why. Are you ready?
Yes. I feel like I'm getting my car bomb.
Yeah, it's not that serious, but I was just, okay, I'm picking from the middle of the stack. All right. Would you do a dance every time you feel awkward or be afraid of water?
I do a dance. I kind of already do that. Anytime something happens, I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm that awkward guy. Yeah. So I do that.
Oh, so
already.
that's easy peasy for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. All right. What's another one?
I'm socially awkward.
Is that so? You just don't seem like it to me, though.
Well, I know how to turn it on and off. Like, for example, in a group setting, I'll very easily slip into the group. I'll start conversations and disappear into the conversation, let them happen around me and interject. On a one-on-one conversation, I'm great. But just to be seen in public, oh, I'm horrible. I don't like it. I'm extremely awkward.
Really?
Yes.
So, but you're on social media. You've done radio, which we're going to talk about in a minute. How are you not showing your social awkwardness? Because because I can tell you right now, I've seen people, people in media, that mainstream media, all the way down to people who are content creators, and you look at them and you're like, that they're really awkward. Like, there's nothing about you directly that would make me feel like, this dude's awkward. So, like, what is it? Is it is it the energy? Is it like you don't like people to know anything about you, or what is it that makes you awkward or feel awkward?
I don't know. The thing that I've been told a lot is that a lot of people say they don't know how to approach me. They say we don't know how to have a conversation with you because sometimes we'll say something that isn't factually accurate, and then you'll do this little thing with your head, and then we know we're getting ready to get chewed out. Or somebody will say that we have to have all of our, how they put it, we have to have our I's dotted and our T's crossed anytime we have a conversation with you, because if it's not right, you're going to call us out and we feel bad. So, and I learned at a very early age, I can't really talk to everybody. I was in the 3rd grade when I learned this, that I can't speak to everybody the same way, because apparently my words not only are spicy, but they are poignant and they hurt. And even if it's not meant to be that way, my words hurt. So I've learned how to season my speech in order for it to be acceptable to the masses.
Okay.
And the reason I come across as so friendly and enjoyable on social media is because that's naturally who I am. So I'm not pretending, but it's very easy to be acceptable and entertaining when the conversation is one-sided. If I'm just constantly telling you everything, it's a very great conversation, but it gets awkward when you start telling me things and we have this back and forth, and then something happens and then I'm like, oh, that's not true. That hurts my feelings. I don't want to hear anything about it. And I'm like, okay, well, bye.
Well, doesn't that mean, okay, but what about dating? Isn't that weird?
I'm not a big dater. I've only been in one relationship in my adult life. Just one. I never saw a point or a need for dating. I get bored with people very quickly. Like, I can tell in the first 7 to 15 seconds of meeting a person how they are, if you will. I read people like most people read books. So I can tell if you're trying to get into this, if I'm looking at you as a partner in a relationship, I'm looking to see if you're here. What are you here for? Are you trying to get in a relationship for healing purposes? Or are you trying to just get to know someone and you think the only way to do it is through dating? Like, what are your motives when it comes to dating? Because I've been alone for a very long time. There was 15 years of celibacy at one point. We'll get to that later. There's 15 years of celibacy, and I've been alone longer than that. So my thing is this: I've been alone for so long, and I find peace in so many things. So why would I allow you into my space to disrupt my peace?
I'm sorry. You said 15 years of
15
celibacy.
years.
Let me put these
15 years
cards.
of
Let me put these cards away.
It was a while. It was a while. I was on a journey. Like I
Fair
said,
enough.
me and God have conversations. And I'm like, hey, what's the right one for me? And he was like, you want to know? I was like, yeah, sure. So me and God went on this journey. And for 15 years, I didn't have sex. I wanted to. Oh, God knows I did, but I didn't have sex with anybody. I did not. Because I really wanted to, I told God that the next person I have sex with will be the one I marry.
Right.
That's just it. And he was like, all right, cool. We will set that up. And it didn't work out that way.
Mm-hmm.
But
15 years.
15 years, man.
Wow. Well, I do
You learned a lot
applaud
about
you.
yourself.
I was going to say, I was about to say, I applaud you because whenever you are not sharing yourself with another human being in that way, especially, you are focusing on you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no way that you can't. Do you feel like you would have been able to attain some of the life goals you're learning you wouldn't have been able to? Okay. No. You answered that very quickly. That's why I asked.
It wouldn't, because I was set on a journey. I know where God is taking me. Mm-hmm. I know where we're going. Mm-hmm. It's the getting there that's the point. And my thing is this: if I'm going to join myself with you, that means I'm going to have to leave this path and join yours. And I don't know where you're going.
Right.
That means if we don't work, then I have to find my way back to the original path.
Okay.
And play catch up.
Okay.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So why would I leave something? Why would I leave the path that God is taking me on? Because he's like, I got you something greater up ahead. So why would I leave that for you temporarily? And now I'm set back years. Mm-hmm. I've been stuck in a relationship with you for years and I haven't grown, haven't gone anywhere. Mm-hmm. You trapped me with kids. Now I'm stuck with you for the rest of my life. And all I wanted you for was 15, 20 minutes. You know?
So along this path, during this time where you're having these conversations, you're putting them out, you're praying, you're finding out more about yourself, where did radio come in? Was that something that you always saw? Because I mean, the learning part we talked about, you were a kid, 5 years old, raising hell, bothering people, telling them what they better, that's not right. So fast forward, you're on your journey. Where did radio come in?
Okay, radio was fun. It was the winter of 2013. I was living in Oklahoma at the time, and my mother gave me a call. She told me that Miss Faye Brown Blackwell, the CEO and owner of one of the radio stations down here, was looking for new talent. And she said she's been talking me up, and she says, well, she might want to know you. And I was like, but I'm in Oklahoma. And she was like, well, step out on faith, baby. Because my mom and Jesus first cousins, they grew up together.
That's that. They down. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Her and Jesus real close. So when they was talking, I guess he told her to put him on the radio, and I believed her. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna come down there. So I leave my home in Oklahoma and come down to Lake Charles for this job that might exist, but it didn't.
Oh.
No, it didn't exist. There was no job, nothing there. So I was like, well, that's fun. Thank you for being manipulative. I love you. And so I'm here now, so I go back to cooking. That's what I know best. Mm-hmm. In the kitchen at one of the casinos down here, and I'm throwing down. And not to brag, but I cook like somebody's grandmother. That's what I do.
That's big talk.
With grandmothers on Sundays.
Vert, that's big talk. That's big talk.
I'm a big boy. There's a lot of work into this. There's a lot of hard work and dedication. Yeah. So I started cooking, and we did great. As a matter of fact, my crawfish at the casino, they raised the entry. They raised the price of the buffet during crawfish season because my crawfish was just that good. I loved it. So radio came in a little bit after that. I was working at Jack Daniels at the time, and I had gotten fired from Jack Daniels. Me and God had a conversation, And I was like, because every time we have a conversation, something weird's happening. And I'm like, can you broaden my borders? Can you take me to the next level? He was like, are you sure you want that? I was like, yeah, I'm ready. He was like, okay, I'm going to prepare you for it. So I got fired from one casino and hired at another one. And while I was at this casino, it had the best kitchen facilities I had ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. I mean, stainless steel was everywhere. It had so much space. And I loved the kitchen, but I hated the executive chef. He had a mandate that you couldn't make food taste good. And if you did, you got in trouble. And I was always taught you don't put out food that you wouldn't eat. He did that to drive business to the other restaurants because the other restaurants were subsidiaries of the head company. But everybody was coming to the buffet because it's large and it's free. Well, it's not free, but exactly. Right. So he came down and I got written up a few times for making food taste good. And so I'm talking to God. I'm like, yo,
That just sounds so fun. That sounds funny, but go ahead.
Yeah. And so I'm like, why would you put me here? I don't understand. I was doing great over there. So why would you put me here? He says, I put you here to show you you. I invested a lot of talent into you, a lot of time into you. You could be the best thing to come out of Southwest Louisiana, but you have chosen a life of mediocrity. Why? And I was like, okay, I get it. It took working at this place with these amazing facilities, with these idiotic mandates about quality to show me that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm ready to be the best version of myself. I want to wake up in the morning and piss excellence. And he was like, let's make it happen. So 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from she was the CEO at the time of the radio station. And she called me. She said, hey, I like what you post on social media and I like your voice. You ever thought about doing radio? I was like, no, not really, but I'll try it. Excuse me. And so a couple days go by and I'm still cooking at this horrible place, trying to get out. And this guy calls me and answers the phone. And he's like, hey, it's Latone Hart. And I was like, okay, nice to meet you. And he was like, well, have you ever thought about doing radio? I was like, no. He said, well, I got your name from my boss. And I've been looking at your social media profile and everything you post online translate well to radio. Mm-hmm. You want to be a personality? And I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? Let's make it happen. He's like, all right, come by tomorrow. So I quit my job and started at the radio station. And that's when I met Latone Hart, the Dark Dick Clark, the ashy ankle assassin, the I-10 pimp.
He did not
and my life changed ever since.
He used to call himself the ashy ankle assassin.
He was the ashiest man alive, and I loved him for it.
Oh my gosh, well, he didn't wear like lotion or something?
He did it on purpose. It was part of his thing.
Oh, that was his shtick, huh? Okay, yeah. I got it. I'll take it. Take it.
The ashy ankle assassin. I loved it. He taught me everything I knew about radio, and also taught me how to be a better communicator. Because I used to use, like, not intentionally, I always want my words, like you'll see me stop and pause in conversation and look for the proper word. Because I want to make sure I'm using the right word that gives the right meaning at the right time.
Right.
Well, he taught me that you don't always have to use big words because you alienate your audience. Using big words, you talk to intellectuals and academics and you leave out 90% of your audience. Speak to the common denominator, talk to the dumbest person in your audience. And that way you can explain it to everybody. And I was like, that makes sense. He said, that's why Trump's popular, because he talks to dumb people. And I was like, oh, okay.
But you know what I find interesting about that? You know, I mean, I might not be the smartest book on the shelf, but I mean, I'm not dumb. But when I listen to when I see your content and the information that you share, it's very robust. And I don't see where it's really dummied down. It may be, I don't know. I just don't see it dummied down at all. I don't know if it could be your soothing voice. It could be your delivery. It could be your ability to actually, I think a lot of it, it's just my interpretation, is that you are able to find the meat and spit out the bones of the information. So I think a lot of it is your delivery. And from what you're saying, you know, you had to kind of learn. It was like, hey, I've got to learn a better way to let people understand me more. So if it's any consolation, you definitely are capable of doing that very well. So when you told me that, you're like, I dummy things down. I'm like, do you really though? I mean, it doesn't seem dummy down to me. I'm
not going to say dummy it down. Latone used to get on my butt all the time about this. He said, this is not a talk show. You don't have 30, 40 minutes to explain everything. I'm giving you 60 seconds to tell a full story. If you can't tell a full story in 60 or 90 seconds, one of two things are happening. You're either over informing people or you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So say what you need to say and shut the fuck up. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So I found ways to break down information and make it and put it in easily digestible pieces. You know, I could break down an entire war in 190 seconds and have it digestible and people understand it.
I know you said he passed this year, correct?
He
Or last year.
died October 2020.
2020.
Yeah. That messed me up.
Oh,
I lost
so-
a lot of people since January 2020. So it's a Marco, DJ Marco, big time, a DJ big time. He made 110 people to die in my circle of influence since COVID began. Not really handling that well. But Latone's death and my cousin's death and a few others really hit me hard.
Yeah.
I'm not a person to talk to everybody on a daily basis. I don't see the point. But he was one I would talk to every day. It was mostly about work, but since work was about everything, we talked about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, man, and I miss it. I miss him. And I think the reason I have these conversations, these uncomfortable conversations on TikTok, is because these were the conversations I was having with him. You know, in between while songs are playing, he and I are talking about the need for change
Mm-hmm.
and how that looks. Where do we come from? How did we get to this point? What laws and things were set up in place to put us here that we're facing these things right now? And how can we dismantle these systems of oppression that have been put in place for thousands and hundreds of years
Mm-hmm.
to then move on to actually be free?
Right.
Whether it be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever has you bound. These are the conversations that he and I used to have behind the scenes. And I miss them. I miss my friend.
I bet.
And so I have those conversations with you.
So do you talk to him sometimes? Or do you find yourself in those moments where you are like cooking or, you know, you see something on the side of the road and you just kind of break out and laugh because, you know, that would have been a moment the two of you could have shared?
Oh, yeah. Especially for when it comes to music. For a long time, I still don't listen. I don't listen to the radio anymore. I don't. I have no desire to listen to the radio. Too many memories. But because it's crazy. In 18 months, this dude has colored every musical memory for me. Every musical memory. One day I got a call from one of the regulars, Miss Paulette. She listened every day, and she would call, and she's had a special request. She wanted to hear "Cherish" from Kool and the Gang. And I was like, all right, cool, I'll play that for you. It's old, and you know, we're not allowed to play a whole bunch of old music because I get in trouble.
Right.
So I played a song, and I'm like, I'm finna get in trouble because I know he's finna come in. And no sooner, as soon as the chorus hit, "Cherish the love," soon as that came on, he comes running through the door, and I'm like, oh, I'm finna get chewed out. And he was like, yo, that's the song they played at my senior prom. And then he told me the whole story of his prom. And so now that song has that memory.
Got you.
You know, and so I quit listening to the radio. And then when Silk Sonic came out with "Leave the Door Open,"
Mm-hmm.
that messed me up. As soon as I heard it, I'm like, yo, I reached for my phone and tried to call him, but he was,
because you knew he'd
dead and buried by that time.
Yeah, because you knew he'd appreciate it, right?
Yeah, because we're an R&B station, the throwbacks in R&B, and he was waiting on a hot R&B song because a lot of songs that were coming out were a lot of rap, a lot of hip hop and things, and a lot of pop music, but very little R&B was coming out. And this was something that he would have enjoyed. We even talked about supergroups, and he said he would like to see Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars team up.
He
and
said
I'm like,
that.
really? You think that'd be great? He's like, bro, if they ever did that, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm like, all right, cool.
Wow.
He died, and a year later, a couple months later, they came out.
Dang. Wow. Well, I'm sure he's proud in wherever he is. I'm sure he was proud to know you and the person that you are. And he put you in a position to know that you were capable of doing radio.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it again? What do you want to do with that luxurious? What your voice is like silk, dude. Let's just go ahead and cut. What do you want to do? Not just your voice itself, not the vocal sounds, but what do you want to do with your voice? Whether it is radio and teaching or whatever, what do you want to do with your voice?
I want to do whatever's available. I really don't mind. Go back to the radio? Yes. I loved the radio. I got bit by the radio bug and now I enjoy it. And one of the things that I really enjoyed most about the job was two things: the interviews and breaking new music. One of the best things I did was an interview. I enjoy picking the minds of others, of greater people, so that they can possibly impart some knowledge that they have gleaned along the way to help us out. I love that about interviews. And breaking new music. As an artist, you make music so that people can hear it. So what's the point of making music if no one's around to hear it?
Right.
Right. So I had a weekly podcast where me and a couple producers, it was called The Listening Room. The Bassman presents The Listening Room, where people from around the world would send in their music, and me and a couple, 2-3 producers or DJs or promoters or club owners, a Grammy Award, Grammy nominated artists would even come on the show, and they would take their music, listen to it, and give them tips on how to make it better, or say, hey, I like this. And whoever got the most likes at the end of the night, I'd play your song the following Friday at 1:30.
Nice. Okay, cool. That was a great opportunity.
Exactly. Because what's the point of making music if nobody's around to hear it? If you got the music, I want to tell everybody about it. And that's what I loved about being on the radio. But if I can't go back to the radio, we can do voice acting. Let's do some voice work.
You should if you have, just do it. Just do it. You don't need anybody's permission. Read all the books, make your demo reel. If you haven't already, I don't know what you're waiting for. No, but seriously, I think I don't think it's just the sound or the vocal quality. It's your delivery. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have this chat with you, because there's so much behind those 59 seconds in those 3 minutes. And you know that. And a lot of times as people, especially as you start to amass followers, you start to realize that the understanding of you as the individual starts to get convoluted to them because in your entertainment, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to have you here, because I feel like people look at you as the wealth of knowledge, as that big sultry voice, but it's like, there's a human being here that has desires and extra knowledge and things just like you. So let's talk about how we can be better people. Let's talk about the fact that there's some guy right now that's probably your doppelganger that when he sees this is going to be like, yo, there's this dude, we sound the same, so I just really think it's important to be able to do those things. So when's your book coming out?
I have no idea. When it does, I'll let you know. I promise you'll be one of the first to know.
Fair enough. You see how I just bullied you into that conversation. You didn't ask for it. Yeah. Okay, just checking. Just want to see when that book was coming out. So I'm going to do one more of these and I have one more question. Okay. See, I told you I was going to keep it spicy. You know how everybody.
I'm from Louisiana. I like heat. What you got?
Always feel confused. Are you ready? Always feel confused or get stuck in a cave with lions.
I'd rather feel confused. I'm always confused. I'm not going to say that because everything in my world makes sense, but I'd rather feel confused than be stuck in a cave of lions.
See, I was about to break the rule we just talked about earlier when I was telling you I was doing this last night. But what if you could get out of the cave though?
Then I wouldn't be stuck.
But you could be stuck because your foot's stuck and you hit. No, never mind. See how I just did that? Okay.
Yeah, all right. If I was able to get out, then put me in the cave of lions and I'll just step on the side and let them things run. I'm just being honest.
You're funny.
But I'd rather be confused, and I'm half confused most of the time. Anyway.
I doubt that, but you know yourself best. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to ask is for all the intellectuals out there, because people ask me this all the time, and I'm not the biggest person on reading, which I know that sounds bad and it's not very smart sounding. What book are you reading now?
None.
Okay, what's the last book you read?
It was the Book of Herodotus. That was the last book I've read. It was, I know it's weird. It was 5th century BC, but I was curious about a few things. I always wondered like how slavery started, and I wanted to find the earliest mentionings of it, but I couldn't find them. So long story short, it wound up being in the city of Babylon, Kingdom of Babylon, and they set up slavery as a system, and that's where they say it originated. But there's still some questions behind that. So, but the last book I read, to answer your question, I'm sorry, running a tangent, was the Book of Herodotus.
Okay. How long did that take you? Don't scare me.
Well, about 2 weeks.
Do you like reading?
It depends on what I'm reading.
Oh, okay. You sound like me. I'm not a reader. I know that sounds bad and not intellectual. I'm just not a reader. I fall asleep when I read.
I don't.
I literally,
For me,
I'm out. College was difficult. College was extraordinarily. I had 5 alarms in different places around the house. I'd put them in the microwave if I had to. Well, not light them up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like I would put them in weird spaces to force myself to get up because I knew I'd have a paper due, or it was just the hardest thing in the world. And I'd be like sitting there reading and then the next thing I know, I probably have narcolepsy, but go ahead.
See, I enjoyed college. The tediousness of everyday work, like doing your homework and turning in papers, that bothered me. I was never really good at that. But you give me a test on the cumulative knowledge of what we did that semester, I pass it, flying colors.
So
I like that part. I don't like the everyday. It's pointless to me.
So you didn't mind the buildup. You didn't mind reading the 450-page book by the end of the week thing. If you could take the knowledge and you were fine. You just didn't like doing a stupid little test and
exactly. So what I didn't understand, I never understood, why are you testing me to see if I know this information when you're going to test me on it later? That didn't make sense to me. Either test me on it now and then test me on something later, but don't test me on this now and then test me on that same information later. That didn't make sense to me. I was like, what's the point?
Yeah. Okay, so I got to ask this question. I lied. This is really the last one because I used to ask this on my last series. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I would have the power of Storm. Not only is she one of my favorite X-Men, but just imagine to have the power to control the weather itself, and not just the weather on the planet, but any weather systems like solar winds. She controls those things, and the powers are adaptive to whatever planet she's on. I enjoy that. That's why she's one of my favorite characters. And not only that, but just imagine that you have the power to control the weather on planet Earth. The United Nations would be on their knees crawling to you to end world hunger. There would be no tsunamis. There would be no earthquakes. There would be no poverty, because you would create greenery wherever you go. Everybody would be able to eat. There would be no hurricanes because I control the weather. And if you piss me off, I'll wipe your country off the face.
See, but I was just getting ready to say, you got too much power there, buddy. Like, a little too much power. No, but do you feel like you'd be able to remain humble with that much power? Would you still be Vert? Would you still be him?
I would try. If you give me the power now, then yeah, I would probably be a good guy. If you give me the power like 10 years ago, I'd probably be an anti-hero. Yeah. Oh, one more thing. One of the powers that Storm has that nobody really talks about is that she controls electromagnetism, and the clothes that she wears aren't necessarily clothes at all, but electromagnetic pieces of her. It's her costume, but in little metal pieces. And she activates it by turning on some static electricity, charges it, and can change instantly into whatever she wants.
So wait a minute, is she taking in things from the environment to make it? Or is that just how her cellular changes are? So it looks like clothes to us, but it's not really clothes.
No, it's her battle costume. Imagine nanotech, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she charges it with electromagnetism. So it goes from, let's say, this black Batman hoodie to your white, her classic white costume instantly. But the costume itself isn't white. When she was written in the comics, it was silver. And you can't draw silver in the comics, so you just draw black over white to make it look reflective. But when they went to TV, they didn't catch that. and it became a classic white outfit. And that's why it made sense when it was silver that she would be able to control her clothing electromagnetically.
I had no idea. See, I'm not a comic book reader, but it
I'm a
makes
nerd.
sense. You
Yeah.
just know, look, you just know a lot of things. You know a lot of things about a lot of things.
I do.
You do.
I know a little bit about a lot.
But you know what? I can say I'm grateful because, one of the things that social media has done for me that I didn't think it ever would, because gosh, don't let my sister tell this story because I used to hate social media, but I didn't realize how much appreciation I could have from people that I may never meet in my life, but finding this kinship, because a lot of us have very similar ideologies, even if they don't match. We have very similar education, very similar backgrounds. But, when you think of the way the world was 80 years ago, there's people, I probably would have never met you. I'm not going to Louisiana for any, well, I mean, I would, but
you got to come.
I gotta come now, you know what I'm saying? But the idea is that, we live very heterogeneously, and then the idea of us moving about wasn't allowed. And then COVID made the world change. And then everybody's on their cell phones and everybody's Googling more. Now, while some of this has been proven to be problematic when you start talking about the toxicity of certain things when it deals with politics, religion, and money and all that stuff, the rest of us as human beings that are decent have been able to make these types of connections. And I find that it gives me hope, because there's a lot that doesn't, but it gives me hope because it gives people an opportunity to bridge a gap that in some cases people didn't even know existed in their lives, Yes. And so I find that comforting. That's where I find comfort. And that was one of the main reasons why I was like, he might tell me no. He might be like, who the heck is this? And I'll be like, I'm gonna try and see what he says. And then you're like, bet. Let me see what you're into. And I was like, okay, let's do this thing. So no, but I'm really glad. I was telling my sister, because she follows you on TikTok. And I was telling my sister, I know, I'll tell her. I was telling her that I was gonna, have a chat with you. And she was like, she's like, he seems like a pretty interesting dude. I was like, he is. I said, I'm going to enjoy doing this. And I'm so glad. I'm very grateful. I appreciate you taking the time and saying, I'm going to talk to this strange woman that lives hundreds and hundreds of miles away from me. I have no idea who she is. I could be an assassin. I'm not, I promise. Maybe I might have been in another lifetime, but in this one, I'm a mild mannered, wink, wink, person that just likes to make sure, hey, all right. Let me see, is the light on? I'm a mild-mannered woman that just really enjoys exploring the human condition and finding dope people to share those kind of conversations with. So for those of people who don't know who you are, or people who do and they want to see where you are, and for those of you who are watching, when you see it, you might not see this for my podcast, I'll make sure to put it in the story notes or whatever, but drop your ads. Let everybody know where you are so they can find you.
All right, you can find Levert the Bassman on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I had a Twitter, but it was taken over by somebody else, and I don't know what to do with it to get it back, but I'm starting another one, so wait on that. But for the most part, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Beautiful. And if
TikTok.
I was about to say, how you gonna miss TikTok? He blew up on TikTok. Matter of fact, let me see where you are right now. You playing around. You got like.
That's the thing. One of the things that I truly love about social media. Mm-hmm. It's proof that your ordinary is somebody else's extraordinary. The things that we take for granted, the things that make us great, are ordinary to us. For me, it's nothing to have a conversation about what happened 150 years ago and, recall it with accuracy. That's nothing to me. But for some people, it's extraordinary. It's amazing. And they are grateful that you either had that gift or you shared that gift with them.
Right.
So I like social media because it shows people that what you consider ordinary, what you consider nothing, the things that you take for granted are amazing and extraordinary to other people. So use your gift. Don't be ashamed of it. Whatever, as small as it may be or as great as it may be, you do what you do better than anybody else on this planet.
Yeah.
So do it.
I mean, because you the best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who's gonna be you better than you?
He was about to forget, if you're listening, watching, he was about to forget TikTok and has almost 500,000 followers. I don't know. 553. 553 with 6.2. I'm getting old, yo. My eyes are 42. You said I hate. He's got 553,000, and then you've got over 6.2 million likes. So if you have not run across the Bassman, you are definitely missing out on a treat. I mean, maybe I'm overhyping it, but I think he's pretty dope. So anyway.
Well, if you like Abraham Lincoln, come on by. That's what we're talking about this week.
I know I didn't get a chance to watch this, but I will definitely be there. And so I'm going to go ahead and wrap everything up. And I want to thank you again for taking so much of your time, chatting with me, sharing pieces of yourself with the world, and being able to show exactly how dope you are. So I really appreciate it. And for those of you who are listening or watching on my YouTube, thanks for hanging out with us. Stay tuned for other people that are going to be on my podcast and my YouTube channel. I'm looking forward to it. But know that Talks with the Fox is a thing, and we're going to keep it going. So everybody have a good day. Bye.
Y'all have a blessing.